First, we would like to thank the Youth Being Society and all the volunteers who helped out with this event. Without all their hard work, this event would not be possible. We would also like to thank our speakers for taking time out of their busy schedule to debate on such an important topic. Lastly, we thank you, the audience, for joining us tonight to consider the significant question, does God exist? With that, let me introduce our speakers. Our distinguished philosophers are Professor Dr. Ronald De Sousa, arguing in the negative, and Professor Dr. William Lane Craig, arguing in the affirmative. Dr. Ronald De Sousa is a Professor Emeritus of Philosophy at the University of Toronto. He has lectured in over 20 countries on emotions, evolutionary theory, cognitive science, sexuality, and religious belief. He has authored books such as The Rationality of Emotion and Why Think, Evolution, and the Rational Mind, and over 100 articles in a variety of periodicals and books. Dr. William Lane Craig is a research professor of philosophy at Talbot School of Theology in La Mirada, California. He and his wife Jan have 2 grown children. He has authored and edited over 30 books, including The Kalam Cosmological Argument, Assessing the New Testament Evidence for the Historicity of the Resurrection of Jesus, Divine Foreknowledge and Human Freedom, Theism, Atheism, and Big Bang Cosmology, and God, Time, and Eternity, as well as over 100 articles in professional journals of philosophy and theology, including the Journal of Philosophy, New Testament Studies, American Philosophical Quarterly, and Philosophical Studies. If you'd like to find out more about what he does, he has a website. It's www.reasonablefaith.org. Please join me in welcoming both of our speakers. Moderating the debate will be Jeremy Larkins from the York Debate Society. He will explain the rules and the format of the debate.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Is this mic better?
Yes.
I thought so. Yeah, I was going to use that one, but it sounded a bit scratchy. Sorry, Ari. Okay, so I'll very briefly go over the format of the debate you're going to be seeing tonight. So at the beginning, each speaker, starting with Dr. Craig for the affirmative, will have 20 minutes to open up the presentation of their case and their arguments. During that 20-minute period, we would ask that the speakers not make mention of the other speaker's position, so essentially no head start on the rebuttal. So we'll see 20 minutes from each side. Then there will be a rebuttal period after that 20 minutes. Each speaker will again have an 8-minute opportunity to engage with the arguments of their opponent. Afterwards, there will be a 5-minute dialogue period, during which time the speaker will actually have an opportunity to ask questions directly to the opposing speaker, and that speaker will have 1 minute to answer the questions being asked, so that those 1-minute answering periods will be included in a total 5-minute cross-examination time. Finally, there will be 10 minutes for closing remarks. Then there will be a 5-minute opportunity for the audience to fill out comment cards, and then we will be having questions from the audience, which I think we'll be explaining later, or when that time comes. You won't be hearing from me again for a while, unless the debaters really get out of hand. There will be a timekeeper at the front displaying them time cards to let them know that they have 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute left. So I'm confident they shouldn't have too much difficulty staying within the allotted time. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Dr. Craig to start.
Well, good evening. Let me begin by expressing my thanks for the invitation to participate in tonight's debate. Dr. De Sousa and I have actually debated before, and so I think I can confidently predict that we're in for a very enlightening and, I think, entertaining evening. Now, in tonight's debate, I'm going to defend 2 basic contentions. 1, there is no good reason to think that atheism is true. And 2, there are good reasons to think that theism is true. Consider then my first contention, that there's no good reason to think that atheism is true. Atheists have tried for centuries to disprove the existence of God, but no one's come up with a successful argument. So rather than attack straw men at this point, I'll just wait for Dr. De Sousa to present his arguments against God's existence, and then I'll respond to them in my next speech. In the meantime, then, let's turn to my second main contention, that there are good reasons to think that theism is true. However unfashionable it may seem, I'm persuaded that there really are good reasons to believe that God exists. Let me sketch briefly just some of those reasons. Number one, God is the best explanation of the origin of the universe. Have you ever asked yourself where the universe came from? Why everything exists instead of just nothing? Typically, atheists have said that the universe is just eternal, and that's all. But there are good reasons, both philosophically and scientifically, to doubt that this is the case. Philosophically, the idea of an infinite past seems absurd. Just think about it. If the universe never had a beginning, that means that the number of events in the past history of the universe is infinite. But mathematicians recognize that the existence of an actually infinite number of things leads to self-contradictions. For example, what is infinity minus infinity? Well, mathematically, you get self-contradictory answers. This shows that infinity is just an idea in your mind, not something that exists in reality. David Hilbert, perhaps the greatest mathematician of the 20th century, wrote, "The infinite is nowhere to be found in reality. It neither exists in nature, nor provides a legitimate basis for rational thought. The role that remains for the infinite to play is solely that of an idea." But that entails that since past events are not just ideas, but are real, the number of past events must be finite. Therefore, the series of past events cannot go back forever. Rather, the universe must have begun to exist. This conclusion has been confirmed by remarkable discoveries in astronomy and astrophysics. In one of the most startling developments of modern science, we now have pretty strong evidence that the universe is not eternal in the past, but had an absolute beginning about 13 billion years ago in a cataclysmic event known as the Big Bang. What makes the Big Bang so startling is that it represents the origin of the universe from literally nothing. For all matter and energy, even physical space and time themselves, came into being at the Big Bang. As the physicist P.C.W. Davies explains, the coming into being of the universe, as discussed in modern science, is not just a matter of imposing some sort of organization upon a previous incoherent state, but literally the coming into being of all physical things from nothing. Now, of course, alternative theories have been proposed over the years to try to avoid this absolute beginning, but none of these theories has commended itself to the scientific community as more probable than the Big Bang theory. In fact, in 2003, Arvind Bohr, Alan Guth, and Alexander Vilenkin were able to prove that any universe which is, on average, in a state of cosmic expansion cannot be eternal in the past, but must have an absolute beginning. Vilenkin pulls no punches. He writes, "It is said that an argument is what convinces reasonable men, and a proof is what it takes to convince even an unreasonable man. With the proof now in place, cosmologists can no longer hide behind the possibility of a past eternal universe. There is no escape. They have to face the problem of a cosmic beginning."